Welcome to today's video, where I'll guide you through the top 5 principles you need to follow to maximize pure muscle growth. We're not talking about just getting stronger or hitting PRs in the gym. This is about building a physique that turns heads. By the end, you'll know exactly how to train with precision for targeted muscle gains without focusing on strength or powerlifting techniques. Let's dive in. Let's kick things off with the cornerstone of hypertrophy: tension. And no, I don't mean stressing about your next set. I'm talking about the mechanical tension placed on your muscle fibers during a workout. Think of it like this. Every time you lift a weight, your muscles are engaged in a microscopic tug of war. The more you stretch and contract those muscle fibers under load, the more you signal to your body, hey, we need to grow these muscles. Now, you might be thinking, I lift weights, so I'm creating tension, right? Yes, but are you maximizing it? That's the million-dollar question, and the answer often lies in the details. It's not just about hoisting heavy metal, it's about feeling the muscle work throughout the entire range of motion. To truly maximize tension, you need to focus on the mind-muscle connection. This means being acutely aware of the muscles you're targeting during each exercise. Instead of just going through the motions, you need to visualize the muscle fibers contracting and stretching with every rep. This might sound a bit esoteric, but trust me, it makes a world of difference. When you're fully engaged mentally, you're more likely to maintain optimal form and control the weight throughout the exercise. This ensures that the target muscle is doing the heavy lifting, rather than relying on momentum or other muscle groups to compensate. Remember, we want to isolate and fatigue those muscle fibers to stimulate growth. So how do you know if you're creating enough tension? It's simple. You should feel a deep, burning sensation in the muscle you're working. Now, I'm not talking about pain. There's a big difference between the two. It should be a challenging but satisfying burn that lets you know you're pushing your muscles to their limit. Maximizing tension is the foundation upon which all other hypertrophy principles are built. It's the driving force behind muscle growth, and without it, your gains will be severely limited. So, make it a priority in your training, and watch your physique transform. Let's talk about achieving tension through proper bodybuilding technique. This is where theory translates into tangible results. Bodybuilding prioritizes muscle growth over maximal weight moved. Controlled tempo, especially in the eccentric phase, is key. Lowering the weight back to the starting position. A controlled eccentric phase leads to greater muscle protein synthesis, more micro tears in muscle fibers. These micro tears are the catalyst for muscle growth. Your body repairs and builds muscle fibers back stronger. Utilize a full range of motion. Deep stretch at the bottom, peak contraction at the top. Maximizes muscle activation and improves flexibility. Avoid cheating with momentum. Keep your form strict and controlled. Quality over quantity always wins. Chapter 3. Effort. Push your limits safely. Now let's talk about effort. This is where many people fall short in their training. They go through the motions, lifting the same weights for the same reps, week after week, wondering why they aren't seeing the results they desire. The truth is, muscle growth requires a significant amount of effort. You need to push your muscles to their limits, forcing them to adapt and grow stronger. One way to gauge your effort level is by how close you're pushing your sets to failure. Failure, in this context, means reaching a point where you can no longer perform another rep with good form. While training to failure on every set isn't always necessary or advisable, it's crucial to incorporate it strategically into your training. I recommend aiming for 2 to 3 sets per exercise, with the last set being taken close to failure. On your earlier sets, leave 1 to 2 reps in reserve, meaning you could have performed 1 to 2 more reps before reaching failure. This allows you to accumulate sufficient training volume without excessively taxing your central nervous system. However, it's important to note that training to failure should be approached with caution, especially on heavy compound lifts like squats and deadlifts. These exercises place a significant amount of stress on your body, and consistently training to failure can lead to excessive fatigue, hindering recovery, and increasing the risk of injury. Instead, focus on achieving a high level of perceived exertion, or RPE. RPE is a subjective measure of how hard you're working on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being maximal effort. Aim for an RPE of 8 to 9 on your compound lifts, ensuring you maintain impeccable form throughout. Remember, effort doesn't always have to mean going to complete failure. It's about pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, challenging your muscles with each set, and striving for that deep, burning sensation that signals muscle growth. Chapter 4. Give your muscles a reason to grow. Progressive overload. Let's move on to a principle that's often misunderstood, but absolutely crucial for long-term muscle growth: progressive overload. In simple terms, progressive overload means continually challenging your muscles by gradually increasing the demands placed upon them. Think of it like this. If you were to lift the same weight for the same number of reps every single workout, your body would have no reason to adapt and grow. It would become efficient at performing that specific task, but it wouldn't get any bigger or stronger. To stimulate muscle growth, you need to provide a novel stimulus that forces your body to adapt. This could involve increasing the weight you lift, the reps you perform, or even the quality of your repetitions. There are several ways to implement progressive overload, and the best approach will vary depending on your individual goals, training experience, and recovery capacity. One common method is to increase the weight you lift on a weekly basis. For example, if you can bench press 100 pounds for 8 reps this week, aim to bench press 105 pounds for 8 reps next week. Even small increments of weight can make a big difference over time. Another effective method is to increase the number of reps you perform with a given weight. For instance, if you can squat 225 pounds for 5 reps this week, strive to squat 225 pounds for 6 or 7 reps next week. Once you can hit a certain rep target, say 10 reps, then you can increase the weight and start over. However, progressive overload isn't just about lifting heavier weights or doing more reps. You can also achieve it by improving your form, increasing your mind-muscle connection, or even shortening your rest periods between sets. The key is to constantly challenge yourself and avoid complacency. Remember, muscle growth is an adaptation to stress. If you're not providing your muscles with a reason to grow, they simply won't. So make progressive overload a cornerstone of your training program and watch your physique transform over time. Chapter 5. High-tension exercises. Choosing the right tools for the job. Now let's talk about exercise selection. While all exercises have their place in a well-rounded training program, some are inherently better suited for maximizing muscle growth than others. This is where understanding the concept of high-tension exercises comes into play. High-tension exercises are those that allow you to maintain constant tension on the target muscle throughout the entire range of motion. They typically involve a smooth, consistent resistance profile, making it easier to achieve a deep stretch and a peak contraction. Cable and machine-based movements often fall into this category. Think cable flies for chest, lat pull-downs for back, and leg extensions for quads. These exercises provide a consistent resistance curve, allowing you to train closer to failure without compromising form or risking injury. Free weights, on the other hand, can be more challenging to control, especially as you approach fatigue. However, this doesn't mean they're not valuable for muscle growth. Free weights engage stabilizer muscles to a greater degree, promoting overall strength and stability. The key is to strike a balance between high-tension exercises and free weight movements. Incorporate both into your training program, ensuring that you're targeting all muscle groups with a variety of exercises. For example, you could start your chest workout with heavy barbell bench presses to build overall mass and strength. Then, you could move on to inclined dumbbell presses for a greater stretch on the upper chest. Finally, you could finish with cable flies or pec deck flies to isolate the chest muscles and achieve a deep, skin-splitting pump. Remember, the best exercise selection is one that aligns with your individual goals, preferences, and recovery capacity. Don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for you. The most important thing is to choose exercises that allow you to train with proper form, maintain tension on the target muscles, and push yourself close to failure. That wraps up our guide on training for pure muscle growth. Remember, building a physique that turns heads requires more than just lifting weights. It demands a strategic approach that prioritizes tension, technique, effort, progression, and exercise selection. Focus on these principles in your next sessions, and I guarantee you'll see a noticeable difference in your results. Remember, consistency is key. Apply these principles consistently over time, and you'll be amazed at what your body is capable of achieving. Let me know how these principles work for you in the comments below, and if you're ready to take your training to the next level. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more muscle building tips.